Thing is, until you can erase 3 Februaries, shut up. Bang! Quality over quantity. LeBron has beaten some of the best competition in NBA history. He's the GOAT emoji. I will not cuss. I will not cuss. I will not swear. I will not swear.
Where sports is the base, life and fun are the results. This is the Brian Snow Show.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me try that again. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this edition of the Brian Snow Show, audio only today. And I want to quickly get into this. I'm sorry I'm late. I want to start with something that I talked with a friend of mine about, and it's something that he made me realize. And I can't believe I didn't realize this before. And I want to say I did realize it. I just didn't act on it. Let me ask you men something. And this is how I'm going to kick off the show. Have you ever gotten to a point where you finally realized you were doing absolutely too much? That point came for me today. With all the struggles I went through in doing the show on the road, doing the show at Starbucks, basically in Columbus, Indiana. And I talked to my buddy Victor, or as some of you know from the morning show, Vikalach. Thank you, Cole Johnson. In the midst of me worrying about my wife and her health and her injury and her stress, I was doing too much. I had been so zone focused on money. I had been so zone focused on helping the household and getting back into work mode to help the household that Jody basically told me how to handle it. And like a fool, I ignored it. She just flat out told me, all you need to do is not worry about getting an outside job right now. I just need you to take care of the house, take care of the dog, and we're fine. But it's such an innate nature in me because I saw it with my dad, I saw it with my granddad, and I saw it with my uncles, with strong men in the family, that I have to be the king of the household. And by that, I mean, I have to be the provider. And given the fact that I physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally have gone through hell in a handbasket the last 2 years, I never allowed myself a time to fully heal. I was just so ready to get back to work and get back to being on the microphone. And the first thing that Jody told me was do it in 15-minute segments. If you can handle 15, then extend it to 30, then extend it to 45, and then an hour. Extend it to a point where you can get up to 2 hours. That part I handled. The part that I didn't handle, and it came back to haunt me, I was doing a game for UNCG and I physically gave out. My stomach gave out. And it was on May 6th of last year. And I didn't realize how much my body had given out on me. I really didn't. And I was so distraught and thought I had done such a horrible job that I called my contact at UNCG and I was crying. Why was I crying, you ask? Because I felt like I failed because I couldn't finish the game. And it's my favorite sport. It's baseball. I love calling baseball games. Y'all know this. Victor knows it especially. And if something interrupts me from calling a game, I feel like a failure. If something interrupts me from helping my family, I feel like a failure. I feel like a flat out failure. And I am admitting this aloud. I am admitting this proudly. And I am admitting this to get it off my chest and move forward. Because there's something that my not only my dad has taught me, but my wife has taught me. You know, she in many ways has echoed fast forward and no looking back. Well, I went too fast. I went absolutely too fast. And I ignored all the scheduling tactics that Jody gave me. I ignored all of the health tactics she gave me. I am slowly, thank the Lord for this, and thank you, Victor, coming down off of caffeine. And I tried quitting it cold turkey several times since I've been out of the hospital, and it hasn't worked because every time I quit cold turkey, I would be good for a while, and then I would have a drink with caffeine in it, and I'm off to the races again. So, what I'm learning to do, and today was a big part of it, is slowing down, not coming to a complete halt. Because once I come to a complete halt, I'd be good for a bit. I'd be good for a bit, and then I'd crash. I'd crash. I'd fall off the wagon and I'd scrape and I'd get scraped up, bruised up, and I'm back on it with no without even blinking. And I'm doing this now to kick off the show, and I'm doing this because the fan base that is growing for the Brian Snow Show, as well as all programs from Snowman Multimedia, deserve an apology from me, but they also deserve an explanation. And I'm explaining it to myself. And if there's something that Jody has taught me, she taught me to talk it out, whether it's to yourself or to somebody. And Jody and I talk a lot to each other about what's bugging us. And believe me, I'm going to discuss this with her. And this feels good and cathartic in doing it. It feels good. It feels good in doing this. And as I say that, I got my little kitten Winnie in my lap. So yeah, it's Winnie time again. But I forgot all the lessons that Jody taught me about having peace in my life. And it's so easy to forget as a man. It's so easy to forget it because, especially when you're a family man, your family's your top priority. And they are my top priority. My daughters, my son, my wife, they're all my top priority. But if there's one thing I learned today from Victor, it at the same time, I have to make myself a top priority. And for the last year plus, I haven't been because I've been so zone focused on getting back to it and getting back at it and not taking all of the steps necessary. And Victor, I hope you're listening from Chicago, and I hope you tune into the chat very soon. Not taking all of the necessary steps. I have skipped quite a few of them on my way up this mountain. And I apologize to y'all for that because as much as I preach about LeBron not getting the natural progression, I haven't taken it either. And it's not fair to you guys. It's not fair to it's not fair to the fans. And I'm saying this with a smile, and I'm saying this with some dignity, and I'm also saying it raw. I'm saying it truthful. I have not been fair to myself, which in turn makes it for me not being fair to my family. And that is the last thing that I need. And something else I discovered, as simple as it may be, you know why I had done a lot of shows on the road aside of testing the equipment, testing the setup? I didn't want to put the setup here at home. And that's wrong. My wife invested in it and I'm not using it. She invested not only her time. Hold on, I got Winnie up here with me and she's headbutting me. I didn't give her a proper return on investment for buying the equipment I needed. I didn't give her a proper return on investment in making sure everything in terms of the show, in terms of my programming, in terms of the pending agreement I have with SportsMap Radio, go off without a hitch. And I said to myself, and I said to Jody last night, and I also said it to Victor, I will make sure I have everything in order going forward. And last night was a big step for me when I registered my company name, Snowman Multimedia, for a tax ID number. Because there will be some advertisers, there will be some sponsors, but I have to build this thing. No, let me correct my sentence. And I know Victor's going to get in my ear about it because he's one of my producers. I know he's going to get in my ear about it. We have to build this thing because it is a team effort to build this empire. And it is an empire. You know, I know there's a lot of people that are going to say, well, you have a long way to go. Okay, so be it. So be it. I have a long way to go. So what? So be it. It's to a point right now, and it's beyond this point, and I didn't realize it before. I don't care what other people think. I really don't care. I have been doing this the wrong way for almost 3 years now. And why do I say almost 3 years? I go back to the time living in North Carolina and the people that I did business with. And to a point, I say to myself, what the hell was I thinking? I wasn't. I was just so excited to have an opportunity to do what I love and an opportunity to help my family that I didn't realize I was running myself into the dirt. I didn't realize that I was basically burning myself out. And that's a thing I didn't want to look at, whether consciously or unconsciously. I didn't want to look at the fact that I was burned out. That's why I was so exhausted. That's why I was so tired 4 of the 5 days last week that I didn't come on. And if I did, I was out and about, and that can't happen that way again. The concentration has got to be here in my home studio because everything about what I do, I am a horrible perfectionist. I am very much a perfectionist. But given the fact that this is the product I intend to keep unleashing upon people, this is the product that I intend to shop around and get advertisers. And there's a couple in the works already, and not affiliate advertisers either. And I plan to get some people to help me. I can't half step in doing this. And from this moment forward, from this program forward, unless I absolutely want to be out in the public, it will not come as a last minute decision. It will not come as something that just popped in my head. I have a bunch of notebooks here next to me, as well as empty schedule paper that I plan to fill. Even when it comes down to time I'm spending in updating my website, which I did last night until late in the evening. I'm going to follow my doctor's orders. I'm going to follow my wife's orders. And I'm going to follow my own orders. And I got a few of them that I need to follow. But I can't do too much. And I was simply overwhelmed and didn't realize how overwhelmed I was. I really didn't realize that. But thanks to Jody, thanks to Victor, thanks to my guests and everyone who I've talked to, I realize it now. And I plan to keep this schedule the way that it is and not overdo it. Because how can I be the jack of all trades and the master of none? I can't do that. I have been doing that for the last 2 years. And I can't and I won't do it anymore. So let me thank the fans, my guests, everyone who has hopped on board this train. It was a bumpy ride at first, but it's about to get smoother. One moment, one day, one show at a time. We'll be right back.
WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key, home of Southern Sports and Talk. Noonan, Sharpsburg, Franklin.
Hey, sports fans, it's Rod Peterson here, host of The Rod Peterson Show, inviting you to join us daily for 2 hours of Atlanta's funnest sports talk right here on WQEE. I say fun because it is. You've never heard a show like it because we make the listeners a part of the show every day between noon and 2 p.m. Eastern. You'll hear plenty of the best sports talk, including the latest on the Falcons, the Braves, and more. And who knows, you might even hear you. That's the Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon, right here on WQEE 99.1 FM.
Moving is a big decision. Selling or buying a home in any market, but especially today's, can raise a lot of questions. Hi, I'm Amy with Killingsworth Realty. My husband Todd and I serve the Coweta and local area. Our purpose at our first meeting is to learn your goals, answer questions, and provide resources so that you can make the best decision for you and your family. Find us online at killingsworthrealty.com or call 678-525-0047 to schedule a free consultation today to discuss your real estate needs. You don't have to do this alone.
It's the best in sports and entertainment, and get locked in and locked down with Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. with your host, me, Ryan O'Neill, each and every morning, right here with the best in sports and entertainment, all the way from professional sports to college sports to River Dragons hockey and everything in between, including some of the very best local and national guests. It's the Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Friday, right here on 99.1 FM WQEE.
Rooted around people, passion, and purpose, Pivot Physical Therapy strives to serve our communities by...
This is Josh Petrantonio of the Columbus River Dragons, your home for River Dragons hockey, and Noonan 99 Rock.
Where sports is the base, life and fun are the results. This is The Brian Snow Show.
Hey, I want to thank y'all for allowing me that time, to not just get some feelings off my chest, but as my dad would say, get some order about myself. And now that I have it, it's Mondays with Sharif, and Sharif Ahmed joins me right now. How you doing, brother?
Good. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm feeling a whole lot better, my man. A
It
whole lot
sounds
better.
it sounds like it.
Yeah, just had to be honest with myself and some of the things I was doing. And speaking of being honest, let's start with the NBA playoffs as they are now here. The play-in round is here. I don't want to discuss the play-in. I want the playoffs, and we're talking about the top 6 in each conference. Which do you think of the first round matchups is the best matchup to watch going into this? What's the best matchup?
Oh man, there's a there's a lot of teams in there right now that weren't in last year.
Right.
And it's going to be I'm excited. I'm honestly excited for the playoffs. I really couldn't tell you, man, because all the matchups to me are fantastic. I
Mm-hmm.
honestly think that it's going to be a extremely entertaining um playoffs. We got, teams like the Sacramento Kings, and they're a very exciting team. And I want to see how far they can go. To be honest with you, the one playoff matchup that's going to be possibly going to 7 games. I would like to probably would go on a limb and saying the 4-5 in the East with Cleveland and New York.
Yeah.
You have two teams. You have two teams that weren't in the playoffs. The Knicks were in the playoffs, excuse me. But Cleveland came out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And they're playing traditional basketball with bigs. Their front line is big.
Yeah.
Their guard play right now with Garland and Mitchell are starting to come into play, which can be extremely dangerous because now you have two guys on a break that can orchestrate the offense and
Right.
can orchestrate a break. The one thing that I see in Cleveland is Garland now is having much more space in hitting the open jump shots, especially down the stretch. With Donovan Mitchell penetrating to the rack, kicking out. Garland's open for threes. Garland can hit the mid range, and at the same time too, you can go vice versa.
Yep.
Garland can penetrate to the lane, but there's times where the help is not going to be there because they have to worry about Mitchell.
Yeah.
And another thing I'm loving is Mobley and Allen. Those two big guys both of them are extremely awesome rim protectors.
Indeed.
And that's what's going to be a huge, huge need in the playoffs, especially, is to have paint presence. Now with the Knicks, Randall is hurt. We can kind of sort of say that they kind of not limped in, but they made it down the stretch.
Right.
And Brunson came out of freaking nowhere when he left Dallas. It just seems like when he left Dallas and was under Luka, now he's in a situation where now he can stretch his wings out and be the performer that he is. And they signed him to a long-term deal. He's playing in Madison Square Garden. Those are one of those stadiums, in my opinion, that the NBA needs to have in the playoffs on a regular basis, to have Madison Square Garden in the playoffs, because we have history from the 70s, and then you had the 90s with those teams. And there's nothing more as a fan to hear the New York Knicks fan chant defense.
It's true. But the one matchup I'm looking at, and I love how you broke down that matchup with Cleveland and the Knicks. That is going to be an exciting series. That's in the East. The series I'm going to be concentrating on that I think will, I don't know how much more to explain this. It's going to draw the most attention. It's going to draw the most curiosity. But then again, it's not. Is the Kings and the Warriors, because the Warriors are projected to win that series, but Sacramento plucked Mike Brown, the Warriors defensive coordinator, for 3 years off, or I should say 6 years off of that team. And look how far Sacramento has come. They won the Pacific Division for the first time since 2002. First time they won the Pacific Division since 2002. They come in as the number 3 seed. The Warriors, the number 6 seed, they clinched that yesterday with a 157-point bombing of the Portland Trailblazers. And the reason I think it's going to be the most curious series to watch, and I said this last year, the Warriors were not healthy until they got to the finals. They're pretty much healthy right now, and plus the return of Andrew Wiggins is looming on the horizon. But something you also mentioned, Sharif, we don't know what the Kings have and how much trouble they're going to give the Warriors. We've seen them give trouble to the Warriors in the regular season. We just haven't seen it in the postseason yet until now.
And here's the thing. That is probably going to be the most entertaining series of the first round in the entire playoffs, because Sacramento, as if memory serves me correct, they're either the top offensive team or one of the top offensive teams in the league.
Yeah.
But on top of that, Sacramento is one of the worst defensive teams going into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're going to see in that series is not going to be a game. It's going to be a track meet, because
it is.
It's going to be like, people don't really want to break down matchups, but the matchup I really do want to see is between Fox and Curry.
Yes.
And the thing is that Fox is probably one of the fastest or the fastest point guard in transition, bar none.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to see how they're going to contain that, because I'm telling you, it's going to be an extremely entertaining series, due to the fact that I'm honestly, I haven't even looked at the line yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if the line of the over and under starts at 225 points combined. And I honestly think in maybe one or two games that line is going to be eclipsed. And it's going to be good for the city of Sacramento to finally host a playoff game.
Yeah.
And on top of that, they're in the position now that they have the home court advantage. But we all know in NBA basketball, home court advantage really doesn't affect a series until you hit like the conference finals and the finals.
Right.
But I absolutely think you're correct. The 3-6 matchup is going to be a good matchup. And honestly, the Warriors, in my opinion, now that they're healthy, they should be the favorite to win it.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you said, this is going to be the most entertaining series out of all the first round matchups, save maybe Cleveland and New York. But here's what bothers me. A matchup like this, with as much fanatic hatred for the Warriors, as much curiosity as there is for the Kings, this series should have the most eyes on it. But given the fact that, a lot of people want to see the Warriors fail, and you and I have talked about this before. Hell, we talked about it last year during the NBA World Championship Series.
Mm-hmm.
People are not going to. The real basketball fans will watch this series, okay? The real fans will watch. But the pseudo fans, as I like to call them, they're going to take a look at about 5 minutes of the first game and make their determination on how this series will go. And they are not going to pay attention to any kind of trends that will happen the rest of the series. And that bothers me.
Yeah, it does. And I'm very happy. I'm elated that the Sacramento Kings came into or in the playoffs. I didn't think they were going to be a 3 seed. I thought they were going to be between 6 to 8 or possibly a buy-in game. But the thing is that a lot of their games haven't really been televised nationally.
Right.
But a couple games I've seen, or some of the highlights I've seen, Mike Brown, the way he coaches, he doesn't coach. He teaches. That's a big difference. He teaches. He comes from a championship pedigree. He's won titles in San Antonio, and as an assistant. So he's seen that. He's seen the way he's been with the Warriors as an assistant, seen how the winning, the culture is there, and he brings it to Sacramento, and he has a three-headed monster, or he has a two-headed monster with Fox and Sabonis. And the thing about those two kids, they're kids. They're probably in their mid-20s, 24 to 26 years old, and you got them as a 3 seed. Now, that's a building block. And now, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if Sacramento wins this series or pushes this series to 7, this is going to show the free agents out there that they're just 1 or 2 pieces away from making something big, like back in the Bibby days, the Bibby Weber days, and the Stojakovic days,
right,
when they made the run up back then. Now, are we going to see a team like Bibby and those guys? Probably not, but the Sacramento team could make it close to that.
They really, really could. I'm looking forward to that series, and I'm looking forward to the NBA playoffs, because there's a lot of curiosity built around this series. We'll take a break, and when we come back, the Lamar saga continues. Is there a new team in play? Should there be a new team in play? Sharif and I will discuss when y'all get back.
So this thing called sports, it has fans again. It has full stadiums, full arenas, and more. And you want to be a part of it, don't you? Of course you do. If you begin to scour the resale market, there will be tickets available. And what you need to get those tickets that you want so badly is SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the app available to you that lends a hand in helping you get the tickets that you want for the events that you want. SeatGeek rates the tickets on a 1 to 10 scale, and the best part is the tickets are vetted for authenticity, so you know what you are getting and you know you are not getting scammed. And now you can save even more by using the code SNOWMAN and getting $20 off with your very first purchase. Yes, you can do all of that with the power of SeatGeek, helping you get to the games that you want, so you fans can fan. So let's all fan.
We owe you an ID. This is the Brian Snow Show.
WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key. Home of Southern Sports and Talk. Noonan, Sharpsburg, Franklin.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson paid for by the Sentinel Group. This is an important message for anyone diagnosed with cancer after being exposed to Roundup or other weed killers. A California jury recently found Monsanto's weed killer caused a groundkeeper's cancer and issued a verdict for $78 million. More evidence found that Monsanto, the manufacturer of Roundup, may have known that Roundup and other weed killers were likely linked to organ damage and cancer. This information was hidden from the public as proprietary trade secret since 1981, and Monsanto may have failed to adequately warn about the potential risk of cancer. If you or a loved one was diagnosed with cancer after being exposed to Roundup or other weed killers, you may be entitled to significant compensation. Sentinel Group now. You'll pay nothing unless there's a recovery in your favor. Don't fight it alone. 1-800-619-8064. 1-800-619-8064. That's 1-800-619-8064. 1-800-619-8064.
Moving is a big decision. Selling or buying a home in any market, but especially today's, can raise a lot of questions. Hi, I'm Amy with Killingsworth Realty. My husband Todd and I serve the Coweta and local area. Our purpose at our first meeting is to learn your goals, answer questions, and provide resources so that you can make the best decision for you and your family. Find us online at killingsworthrealty.com or call 678-525-0047 to schedule a free consultation today to discuss your real estate needs. You don't have to do this alone.
Where sports is the base, life and fun are the results. This is the Brian Snow Show.
Mondays with Sharif rolls on here on this Monday in April, and with the draft being 2.5 weeks away, the saga for Lamar Jackson and Aaron Rodgers still goes on. We're going to concentrate on Lamar Jackson here. Is there a new team in play for him, or does Baltimore capitulate to him and give him the money he is asking for?
I'm just so tired of seeing it on sports talk radio. I'm just tired of it. But I'm thinking, oh my God, this is tough, because what the Ravens have done is they picked up a couple pieces that's going to help the wide receiver core. They just picked up Odell Beckham, which I honestly think for Odell, because he's 30 years old now, coming off an ACL injury. So we don't know if we're going to get the old Odell. But
right,
the wide receiver core now consists of Nelson Aguilar, Odell Beckham, and then our draft pick, Rashawn Bateman. I'm hoping that that'll be enough for him to sign. But I don't think that I think it's just so hard because I want him to stay. Mm-hmm. But if he's going to stay, it has to be a long-term deal.
It must be.
And the Deshaun Watson deal is not just ruined. It didn't quite send a rift in free agency, but it sent a rift to that position.
It did.
And I've said this before, Lamar Jackson is looking at the Cincinnati Bengals and what they've done with Joe Burrow.
Mm-hmm.
They've invested so much money in that offensive line to protect him. And that investment has come through via free agency, via the draft. And the Ravens really have not addressed the offensive line. The offensive, I can't remember. I mean, it's off the top of my head, but we lost a lineman.
Yeah.
And this is it. This was a business decision by Odell Beckham Jr. He went for the money because the Ravens offered him the most money. I think it was $18 million.
$18 million. So
this was a business decision for him. But I'm hoping that will be enough to at least bring him into the facility and negotiate something.
Mm-hmm.
Could it be Lamar wants guaranteed money and Lamar wants a long deal, which I think he deserves.
Yes.
But if he comes back and signs a deal, it's going to be one of the most competitive divisions in football because now all the teams in that division will be competitive. Cincinnati has Burrow, Pittsburgh has Pickett, the Browns have Watson, then the Ravens have Jackson. That can be the most competitive division. But I'm hoping that this signing of OBJ wheels him in.
I hope so too, because they have to figure out something and they got to figure it out fast if they want to stay competitive, as you said, within that division. And that's a huge if because there are so many the other teams in that division are already there. All right. They've taken care of their quarterbacks. Cincinnati with Burrow, Pittsburgh with Pickett, and Cleveland with Deshaun Watson. The only team in that division that has so many questions to answer are the Baltimore Ravens, which prompts this. Where do they begin to solve those problems should Lamar Jackson choose to go elsewhere?
The team is constructed to win.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot put a rookie quarterback in that situation or a second or third tier quarterback in that position.
Right.
That team is in position to win. We have J.K. Dobbins. We have Gus Edwards in the backfield. We have Justice Hill, who's a scat back who can catch out of the backfield.
Right.
Which can be that security blanket for Lamar.
Mm-hmm.
Health is a big issue. J.K. Dobbins hasn't been healthy. Gus Edwards hasn't been healthy. Justice Hill hasn't been healthy. The offensive line is shaky at best.
Yes.
It's going to be very interesting to see what the Ravens are going to do in this draft. If the Ravens, history has been on our side. We've always traded down out of the first round.
Right.
If we trade out of that pick, either the Ravens should draft someone at that position at a value pick or the best player at that position, or trade down and amass more picks and address the offensive line. Because offensive linemen, you can find an offensive lineman from rounds 1 to 7 or even in free agency. You just got to do a lot of study and due diligence.
Right.
But now the team is constructed to where it won't win, but it will compete.
Mm-hmm.
And if Lamar can get going, my only concern is the deep ball. Deshaun Jackson was with us last year, and he really wasn't being used to his potential because because it was the assumption that Lamar would be there and would be his deep threat, but we
Mhm.
didn't. Lamar was down. We really need to stretch that defense on the offensive side of the ball because we do have the running game that can keep everybody close. And Dobbins can average his 5 yards a carry. Gus Edwards can be our third down back. Every now and then, Gus will break into the second level, maybe 2 or 3 times during the game. But the thing is that once all the defenders get in the boxes and that finally respects the running game, now we
Mhm.
need Lamar Jackson there to stretch the field. And if he can stretch the field consistently, the Ravens can be a dangerous team. But at this point right now, we don't even have the guy signed yet. Technically the franchise tag, but he wants something guaranteed and long term.
Yeah, and I would say he deserves it, but for me, being old school, there's a caveat to that. And the caveat for me is, well, 2 things. 1, being healthy, and 2, you just said it a moment ago, being able to stretch the defense. And when I say stretch the defense, we're talking about more than 1 game. We're talking about more than a half. And I'm pointing to the Miami game at Baltimore to kick off the season. We're talking about consistency. And that is what Baltimore needs from Lamar Jackson, because since he won his MVP in 2019, in all honesty, they haven't gotten it.
Mm-mm. No, sir. And now the teams on the schedule now, those teams loaded up. The draft hasn't even happened yet.
Mm-hmm.
And the teams are going to be competitive. And now, just like the NBA, the NFL is going to be competitive with a lot of teams that didn't make the playoffs or barely missed the playoffs are now going to be competing for those spots now.
Right.
You know, because most of the divisions now are going to be competitive. Who thought Jacksonville was going to be in the playoffs? They took the Kansas City Chiefs. They took the Kansas City Chiefs to the brink, and that's with Trevor Lawrence coming off an injury.
Yes.
That's just an example. And, you know, Miami is at the cusp. Tua has to be healthy.
Mm-hmm.
He has a lot of weapons on that team now that can help him.
He does.
And can help the team. And now Miami is going to be a Miami Buffalo in the AFC East.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be the AFC West is still loaded with you have Herbert, you have Mahomes off those two in that division. And the AFC is going to be extremely stacked. And there's going to be teams with 10 wins that are not going to freaking make it because it's so competitive. And Lamar needs to realize that. But at the same time, Lamar wants that guarantee. Lamar wants the money that all the other quarterbacks have had because he's had like almost I think he has a 70% winning percentage in the regular season, which counts a lot.
Yes.
But the playoffs is a big hiccup for him. But now this is, with the OBJ signing, it's make or break because if he's not behind center in week 1 with that team, we're going to struggle. I don't even think we're going to be 500 if he doesn't sign.
Yeah, and that's huge for them. I mean, J.K. Dobbins can only do so much. The offensive line is in a shambles, and you and I have talked about that numerous times, going back to 2019. Before the playoffs began, the offensive line was in a shambles, and this is where a lot of people that say they follow the team, and yes, I'm calling them out, don't realize that the offensive line for Baltimore, as well as quite a few other teams, Cowboys included, are in a shambles right now. That's a big problem for me.
Yes, it is. And the one thing that I is that we signed Staley at left tackle, but we had Orlando Brown that we drafted, and they played him out of position, and he wanted to stay in Baltimore. But the problem is they signed Staley to that big contract, and then when I think the couple games into that big contract, he went down with an injury and he was gone for the year.
Yes.
And the Ravens didn't want to sign Brown, who at the time, he was not a project, but he was working his way and busted his tail at the opposite end of the line. He's more of a blindside lineman. And now he won a championship with the Chiefs. And I'm kicking myself. It's like we should have kept Brown.
Yes.
And did away with Stanley because he's not healthy. But we got to work with what we have, and I'm praying that they can get a deal done, hopefully before or during the draft or whatever the timetable is. We need to get him back under center.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna be a very long season for me if he's not behind center.
More draft talk and more team talk after this.
Here's an important message from the Diabetes Solution Center. Do you like pricking your fingers to test your blood sugar levels? No one does, but it's important to maintain your health. And now, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you don't need to prick your fingers anymore. It's easy to use and helps you make more accurate diabetes treatment decisions. If you are testing your blood sugar 3 or more times daily, injecting insulin, or using an insulin pump, call the Diabetes Solution Center right now. And if you have Medicare or most major insurance coverage, you may be able to get a new CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. Shipping is free and will even bill your insurance company for you. If you are testing your blood sugar 3 or more times daily, injecting insulin, or using an insulin pump, call the Diabetes Solution Center right now to learn how to end the painful finger sticks and get your own continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
So this thing called sports, it has fans again. It has full stadiums, full arenas, and more. And you want to be a part of it, don't you? Of course you do. If you begin to scour the resale market, there will be tickets available. And what you need to get those tickets that you want so badly is SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the app available to you that lends a hand in helping you get the tickets that you want for the events that you want. SeatGeek rates the tickets on a 1 to 10 scale, and the best part is the tickets are vetted for authenticity, so you know what you are getting and you know you are not getting scammed. And now you can save even more by using the code SNOWMAN and getting $20 off with your very first purchase. Yes, you can do all of that with the power of SeatGeek, helping you get to the games that you want, so you fans can fan. So let's all fan.
Active Pest Control offers the best services and prices to protect your home, offering both monthly and quarterly pest control services, plus specific services like bed bug, German roach, and flea control. Even if you can't see them, insects are all around you 24/7. Active Pest Control wants to be the first line of defense. Active Pest Control, repair, bond, best termite coverage around. Active Pest Control, 34 Jefferson Street, Noonan, 770-954-9941. WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key, home of Southern Sports and Talk. Noonan, Sharpsburg, Franklin.
Where sports is the base, life and fun are the results. This is The Brian Snow Show.
Down the stretch we come here on this edition of the Brian Snow Show. It's Mondays with Sharif. You can hear Sharif Ahmed and see him every Monday here on the program. And I want to thank Sharif Ahmed for joining us. Victor Locke has joined us from Chicago. Mickey Delaney joins us from the Pacific Northwest. The Information Man Show is in the house. Says peace and respect. Same to you. Pigskin Punk says just discovered this great show. Thank you very, very much. All right. We talked about your Ravens. Here's a team that won a division last year that's going to fly under the radar when it comes to the draft because they're looking for depth. And that team is San Francisco because they lost Mike McGlinchey. They lost Mike McGlinchey to Denver in free agency.
Mm-hmm.
We know the injury with Brock Purdy. They're targeting him to come back for week 1. Besides the depth that they're looking for along both lines, offensive and defensive line, do you think a draft night deal is coming where they send Trey Lance packing for some more draft picks?
The question is what team. You have to look at the landscape of the league now because every single team has their quarterback.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, there's really no quarterback controversies in any of the teams with the exception of Baltimore, but they're trying to sign Jackson. But
yes,
now, Green Bay, it's make or break for Jordan Love. That's his team now. They have their starting quarterback. I mean, it's going to be very difficult to try to move Trey Lance because they're going to try to get some type of equity back because the 49ers spent a lot of draft equity in retaining and obtaining that pick.
Yes.
And on top of that, the Christian McCaffrey deal, they also sent draft equity to retain him.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is that the defensive side of the 49ers really doesn't need that much help.
No.
Let's be honest.
No.
They are legit. They're young. They're hungry. There are a bunch of youngsters out there that had that taste of Super Bowl, and now that's going to be basically like the defense is fine. The offense is we need to retool the offense.
Yep.
Samuel is there. Ayuk is there. Kittle is there. That's fine. I honestly think that all that the 49ers really need just to have a security is get some young guys in there, or even try to get a veteran offensive lineman in there.
Yes.
And the running backs, I think you have McCaffrey's going to be your 1, Mitchell's going to be your 2. Which Mitchell had some bright spots. You know, Mitchell is at, I don't know if you want to call him a change of pace, but that kid can play. He could probably be about
and he can catch the ball out of the backfield.
Yes.
Saw that in the wild card game and in the divisional game against Seattle and Dallas, respectively.
Yes.
The thing with the 49ers, and it's been true for years, you and I have talked about it, my buddy Alvin Washington Jr. in Chicago have talked about it, and it goes back to the days of Amos Lawrence in the early 80s, and of course Roger Craig and Tom Rathman. They can catch the ball out of the backfield.
And what the scary thing is too, here's the scary thing about that. You can put McCaffrey in the slot and have Mitchell in the backfield.
Yep.
Which gives you another options, because McCaffrey can run routes now. We all know who his daddy is. And
yes.
And that young man can run routes when needed. But then on top of that, if you really want to be a dangerous team,
yep,
you put McCaffrey in that slot, and you put Mitchell back there, and Mitchell can probably sneak out there, hit a bubble screen, and then you got 2 linemen pulling, and that could be a 15, 20-yard gain, because now you got Samuel, you got Ayuk who can go deep, then you have Kittle on one end, then you can put McCaffrey on the other end on the slot, which now the defense is completely spread out.
Man.
Okay. And then with Mitchell, Mitchell will then have lanes to run in. But the quarterback position is going to be key. And Purdy has the leg up. But if I were Trey Lance, I would be in that gosh darn film room. I would be with the coaching offensive coordinator, quarterback coach, Shanahan. You need to be up in there, and he needs to literally study film left and right, because there will be a moment where they're going to put Lance in there, and Lance needs to perform.
And there's not a controversy in San Francisco, but there is uncertainty with Trey Lance. We saw it in week 1 in Chicago. He performed well for a quarter, and I'm talking about the second quarter where the Niners held a 10-0 lead, or into the third quarter, I beg your pardon. And then he just became so unsure of what to do, and then he went down with his injury. I do not wish injury upon anyone. Please understand that, but it's just unfortunate that he went down and Garoppolo was able to step in, and then when Garoppolo went down, Brock Purdy was able to step in. This is Brock Purdy's team. It's going to depend on the health of Brock Purdy getting back to full optimum health. They're targeting him for week 1 to be back to optimum health. The rest of the offense is there. You can go late second, third round to stockpile your offensive linemen, get them in that system.
Yeah.
2 major signings that the 49ers are working on right now, and I've had people confirm this to me: Christian McCaffrey and Nick Bosa, the defensive player of the year. They're going to keep Bosa. It's just a matter of freeing the money and having the cap space to do so, which is why I think there's a deal in the shadows for Trey Lance. And you mentioned something that is so very true, and I want you to talk about this because you talked about it with me. Now I want you to put it on the air. I had the question about Trey Lance's work ethic from his showcase game in 2020 at North Dakota State, where he wasn't a shining star there either. And then you have Brock Purdy, who just worked his tail off and performed when his number was called. And we'll close with this point. And I want you to take the floor on this about Trey Lance's work ethic and how it needs to really grow if he's going to be a part of or the future of this team.
He needs to step in OTAs, and his mentality is he is the guy. That's first and foremost. He needs to be meticulous. He needs to be in the film room. He needs to be talking with receivers. He needs to be talking with everybody because, as you said, Brock Purdy is coming back for week 1, which means that he is not going to participate in OTAs. He's not going to be participating in preseason. Right. And this is going – and the way I'm seeing that Shanahan's going to do is Shanahan's going to give him all the first team reps. He's going to play minimum a half of preseason. If he wants to be the starting quarterback of the 49ers, this is going to be his time to shine. And yes, it all comes down to work ethic. The great quarterbacks that we have seen in our lifetime were they were
workaholics.
They were workaholics. Peyton Manning was in that film study. Tom Brady was constantly in Belichick's ear, Josh McDaniels' ear, quarterback coaches and receivers. He was constantly his presence was felt in the locker room during OTAs. He needs to step up in there and says, "I'm the man." And if he wants to be the starting quarterback and he performs well, now here's the thing though: if you're going to project Purdy as your guy, and Lance just comes out and just balls out of his mind, that's the kind of controversy a coach wants to have because now he has 2 young quarterbacks that want to be in a position to lead the team to the Super Bowl, and it's all going to be on him. And if Trey Lance can perform well in the preseason, and he might even mess around and become the week 1 starter. We don't know if if Purdy's going to be ready for week 1. They might say, "Hey, well, shoot, Trey Lance had a hell of a preseason. We're going to put him in." Don't be surprised if Trey Lance goes up in there and goes off, and San Francisco's like 3-0, 2-1 first 3-4 weeks of the season. If he wins 2 to 3 games off the jump, Purdy ain't going to see the field, and the 49er fans are going to be like, "This is why we invested in him," and it's going to make Shanahan as a god.
Well, Shanahan's already a god, considering how he has gotten the most out of his players, and last year was a prime example. Well, Lance goes down, Garoppolo steps in. Garoppolo goes down, Purdy steps in.
Yes,
I mean, they rode it all the way to the NFC Championship when they faced the absolute toughest defense in the NFC in the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Eagles' relentless pass rush kept coming, and it forced Shanahan to improvise on the fly. I just want to see how this quarterback room plays out. And thank you to everyone that joined us. Hawk TV from the DMV area, Information Man Show, Alvin Washington from Chicago, Pigskin Punk. Let us know where you are located. Mickey Delaney from the Pacific Northwest had a fabulous time. Mondays with Sharif. You can hear him and see him every Monday. I'll be back on camera next Monday. Man, thank you so much for not only being patient with me and being patient with the show, but just stepping in, offering some great analysis and being a part of this program and being a part of Snowman Multimedia. You are very much appreciated, my friend.
Thank you, sir. And hey, keep your head up, B. We have your back, and we love you and we support you. And God is in your side.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks, y'all. I'll be back tomorrow. See you later.
Thank you for tuning into The Brian Snow Show, where sports is the base, life and fun are the results.